Welcome to Tutoring with Lila. Today we're going to discuss how to form consistently strong opinions, especially when it comes to literature. This is a 4-part series on how to form an opinion. In the last video, we talked about how to recognize your opinions, so if you haven't seen that yet, look for it. In this video, we're going to talk about how to strengthen your opinions. Next, I'll give you some tidbits that can help with that and extra information to remember. And finally, I'll go through an example. So now let's talk about how to strengthen your ideas. All I want you to do is look at the opinions you've written down and ask yourself 3 questions. And even if you think that you have a really strong opinion, still ask yourself these 3 questions, because it's a great way to just make your opinion more accessible to write in an essay. And if you have a weak opinion, it's going to make your opinion really strong. I promise you, you can definitely do this. The first question is just simply, why? And what I mean by that is, why do you think a character is good? Why do you think a character is bad? What have they done? What is kind of, it's good to look at archetypes here, I find. So for instance, archetypes are like the savior, the wizard, that sort of thing. Don't stick to those exact lines, but just look at like an overarching category. For instance, like if you think, oh, Michael's bad, well, maybe he's a bully, and that's why you think he's bad, and it's just as simple as that. So then why would be because he's a bully? I think he's bad because he's a bully. And I really suggest only doing one word for this, because with the next 2 questions, it's kind of easier to move forward. But you can do more than one word if you want. You know what? It's your essay. It's your opinion. Go do what you want with it. So once you know why you feel a certain way about a character or a plot line or a theme that's brought up in the book, or at least you have a bit of an inkling as to why you're thinking this, the next question to ask yourself is, what makes this true? What makes it true that someone's an oppressor? What makes it true that someone's a bully? What makes it true that someone is a hero? What makes it true that someone is searching for meaning in life? And this should not be a direct retelling of the plot of the literature. So for instance, before when I said Michael was a bully and that's why we don't like him, well, I know why I don't like him is that he's a bully, and then what makes this true? Maybe he's made life difficult for someone at school. Maybe he is trying to manipulate someone he works with. So I wouldn't directly put that in. I wouldn't say, well, on page 3, he tells Sally that she must do this or else he's going to blackmail her. Instead, I would say what makes this true is that he has manipulated his peers. So something more general. Whenever you're trying to come up with an opinion, you always want to make it general rather than specific to the story. So like I suggested before, skimming the literature at this point would be a great idea, especially if you're not sure what makes this true. Maybe you know that Michael's a bully and you're really certain of that, but you can't remember specific examples and you're just a little uncertain. So by reading through a couple sentences in the book and just recalling the certain plot lines and the certain events that happened in the story, that way you might get a better grasp of what makes this true, and you'll remember the certain instances in which your gut told you he's a bully. Finally, once you've figured out why you sort of have this feeling about something, and then what makes this true, your feeling, what is the concrete evidence behind your feeling, the final question to ask yourself, and arguably the most important, is what are the consequences? So what I mean by that is, like, what are the effects of the character or the plot line or the theme on the overall story? So for instance, going right back into our old little bully Michael, since Michael was a bully, how has that affected the story? What were the long-term results of that? Maybe Michael felt isolated from society. He was alienated because he couldn't work with people. Or maybe he became really successful, and that's the long-term consequence of being a bully. Not telling you to be a bully, you might be alienated or you might be successful, so that's a real gamble, but who knows? So this is where you should be looking at the end of the story and kind of just examining what kind of happens to the character in the end. And that's not to say if a character dies, that is a consequence of them being a bully. Maybe he just happened to die, Michael. But I mean more like the emotional impact. Like alienation would be an emotional impact. Becoming super successful would be an emotional impact. So not so much literal plot line what happens, but more the depthful themes of what happens. And this could be an effect on other characters as well, not just the one character. Or it could be an effect on the plot line. Maybe because of that, the plot line swerves off in a whole new direction. Or maybe another character is influenced to not be very happy or to be successful themselves because this other character has failed. Anything like that. This is also the question that will kind of bring up themes within the book. And by that I mean generalized and universal truths that we see not only in the book, but also in our world. For instance, oppressors manipulate their vulnerable citizens. That may be something that happens in the book, but there's also so many examples of this happening in real life. So when you're asking yourself the consequences, take a look at some of the ideas you come up with, and you might be able to draw parallels with real life. And usually if you can draw parallels with real life, that means that's a really good consequence that you might want to use as your main consequence. If you're writing out a couple of different ones, like we did with your opinions in the beginning, then look for the ones that do reflect real life and try and use those moving forward with an essay or that sort of thing. This was part 2 of a 4-part series on how to form an opinion. In this video, we discuss strengthening your opinion by asking yourself 3 questions. Why? What are the consequences? And what makes this true? Now, go take the time to answer those questions to the best of your abilities. Then, move on to my next video where I'll discuss some extra tidbits to help you form your opinions. After that, I'll go through an example where I answer these questions. Thanks for watching and have a great day. If you're interested in accessing further resources which I have created for students like you, then head to my website, tutorwithlila.com. There you can find printable handouts which cover the information I've discussed in my videos, as well as being able to access my editing services. There you can send me a paper, essay, or anything else you need edited, and I'll take a look at it and offer you suggestions for how you can strengthen your argument and the overall appearance and organization of your paper. You can find this link in the video description, or you can go ahead and type it right into your search engine. Thank you and have a great day.